I'm just delighted it's a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff because they're pretty rare and we've got to get used to them because we'll be doing a lot of them next season.
Welcome back to another episode of the Fans Panel. After an international break, we're back this weekend with Premier League action at Elland Road, where a Yorkshire derby returns between Sheffield United and Leeds United. Today, we're joined by Ben from the Lincolnshire Whites and Hal from the Sheffield United Way. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Ben, coming back from an international break this weekend, obviously, we're looking back at going into a game against Sheffield United and carrying on the form that we had against Fulham. Can we do that after getting those vital 3 points away in London finally and take it into this fixture?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think the squad doesn't get that decimated over international breaks. And I think historically, this like Bielsa burnout myth thing doesn't seem to work. The performance levels and the energy levels seem to carry on week after week. So absolutely, I don't see any reason why we can't get a result on Saturday.
Hal, obviously, it's been a very difficult season for you guys. Relegation seeming more and more likely as the season goes on. Just how important are these 3 points to you? Not only because of the derby, but also to get some more points on the table and hopefully get that fight going for safety this year in the Premier League.
Well, I'm just delighted it's a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff because they're pretty rare and we've got to get used to them because we'll be doing a lot of them next season. It is obviously a Yorkshire derby. Do they get any bigger than Leeds, Sheffield United? Yes, they do. Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United. But after that, it's Leeds. So, we've got to get bragging rights because we've got nothing else to play for.
So, like I say, it's a big game for loads of fans all up and down Yorkshire, to be fair. But in recent weeks, obviously, Chris Wilder has left the club, Hal, after a few years of great success, promotion back to the Premier League and a great season for you last year as well. Ironically, you've got the former Leeds manager, Paul Heckingbottom, in at the moment as an interim manager. But who do you want to take over permanently? And what do all the fans in the Sheffield United community think about the sack or the departure of Chris Wilder?
Well, if Paul Heckingbottom's Red and White Army can win the next 9 games, we might actually stay up. So then you'd say Paul Heckingbottom would obviously be the favourite then, wouldn't he? It'd be amazing if you got rid of him after that. But I think being realistic, the majority probably want Slaven Bilic or Slavisa Jokanovic. I think it will be a foreign manager, our first permanent non-British manager ever, but I doubt it will be either of those two. I don't know. I think maybe the board might go for a bit of an unknown, maybe someone that isn't really a name. I'll support and back whomever the board decide is the best man for the job.
Ideally for you, obviously you mentioned 2 names there. Who would you choose out of there? Would you choose Slaven? Obviously, Slaven Bilic is probably the more well-known. He's probably got more Premier League experience as well. But for you personally, who would be your preference?
Well, technically, Jack, we mentioned 3 names, and I'd go for Chris Wilder if I had to. From any of those names just mentioned, he's one of our own, and none of us wanted to see him leave. So I'm not going to pick anyone else. It's still too raw.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Very soon and surprising, I guess. Was it a surprise to come to you and the rest of the Sheffield United fans, or was it inevitable? Do you think?
It's nothing to do with results, really. So I think it's been probably brewing in the background much longer than us fans had any inkling of. There was some rumours after we lost to Crystal Palace. A lot of us were able to lip read him saying, "I can't do this anymore," as he was walking down the tunnel at the end of an awful, awful game. And I think 1 or 2 of us after that thought, oh, he might resign. And it's come out since from our owner, Prince Abdullah, that he did try and resign after that game. He then resigned a second time. And I guess you've got to say, well, if a man is that set on resigning, you've probably got to let him resign. But as fans know, it did sort of come as a shock, particularly now. You'd certainly like to have seen him get to the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like you say, certainly now, like you've just said there, it's a weird one to be about 8 games before the end of the season. You'd like to see him see it through, but that's football nowadays. I guess that's the way it happens, Hal. Obviously, the fixture in history has been quite an exciting one for both sets of fans. What are your favourite memories from the previous fixtures? Ben, we'll start with you. What are your favourite memories from the Yorkshire derby against Sheffield United?
Well, historically, we haven't actually played each other that often recently because the 2 teams seem to have done this. So we tend to play each other in chunks throughout like 2 or 3 years and then not play each other again for 5, 6, 7 years. So it's it's quite a strange rivalry that's kind of built up over time. But favourite has to be Bamford this season, scoring off the end of his beaker, or Pablo last season, where he's obviously Dean Henderson's kind of chucked one in a little bit, and it was a massive game, wasn't it? Yeah. Massive. And then obviously on the negative, Basham coming to Elland Road, and we battered them that day. We absolutely battered them. We just couldn't put the ball in the net. Which happened a lot last season. And then Basham hits us on the break. Game over. They all seem to be fiery, tense, with not a lot of goals, I think. It's a little bit different this Saturday. I don't think it'll be as fiery, and I think it might be a little bit more one-sided. Hopefully, anyway. I think it might be a bit more
fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed for Leeds fans, definitely. Hal, what are your favourite memories? Ben's just mentioned the Basham goal a couple of seasons ago, where I have to agree with Ben. We absolutely dominated, but like you say, that's football, and that's what happens. You hit us on the counter, and you won the game.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like Leeds. I grew up in LS24. My wife is from Chapel Allerton. A lot of my mates support Leeds United. The first game I ever went to was at Elland Road. I wasn't going to mention that season. I was going to pick a fairly meaningless game in 2005. But Ben, if you want to go there, absolutely. Yes, really important game when Henderson made that error. And of course, at the end of the season, it mattered absolutely not a jot because Basham arrived on the 16th of March, 2019. And yes, you guys won the Dominating the Game trophy, but Sheffield United were promoted at the end of it. And I tend to look at that as being, for me, more important, but you guys have your own decision there to make. I'll go with the 5th of April, 2005, Leeds United 0, Sheffield United 4. Danny Webber opening the scoring after 93 seconds. I remember he danced past would there be a future Blade, Simon Walton, never actually made a first team appearance for us. And our friend on our channel, Nick Montgomery, a Leeds lad, he managed to actually score at Elland Road. And I know that would have meant a lot to him. He was a former Leeds City boy, released by Leeds United in the youth team, went on to become a Sheffield United legend. So that game for me, I was there. I loved it. 4-0. Yeah,
definitely. Like you say, that sounds a very fond memory. Interesting that you say you've got a lot of links to Leeds. Is bragging rights going to be a big thing for you this weekend? I'm sure you've got, like you say, lots of your mates are Leeds fans. I'm sure this is more than just 3 points to you, definitely.
I don't really think, even if the Blades win, I can't have any bragging rights. We're going to get relegated. So Leeds are going to stay up. They deserve to stay up. They're having a season very similar to what Sheffield United had last season. I do think actually there's quite a lot of similarities between the two clubs. The way that we don't sort of sign loads and loads of players, both of us, we try and keep the core with a manager that before Chris Wilder left had been there for a long time and actually building something. It's exciting football to watch. Now, that hasn't been the case for us at all this season. So if we get a victory against Leeds, and if we do, it'll be narrow, I am not going to be in a position to send a lot of WhatsApp messages to my Leeds supporting chums.
Just keep it quiet, but smile nonetheless.
Yeah.
The previous fixture, which Ben mentioned earlier, obviously with Bamford, was right at the start of the season, and like the last minute header, we took the 3 points back to Elland Road. Who do you think this weekend is going to be the most important player for each team? Ben, we'll start with you. Who do you think could be our standout player and win us the game this weekend?
There's 2 points to this, really. I think Rafinha is the obvious one. Hal will obviously be able to fill us in a little bit more on this, but I think you can get at Sheffield United down that left-hand side with Ender Stevenson, Keane Bryan, and then Fleck from the midfield kind of sits on that left-hand side, and I think you can get at him there. And also, who's going to play at 10? Because like the Roberts-Wales issue, Bielsa isn't going to take kindly to that. Is Rodrigo fully fit? If neither of them are going to play, then who is going to play that number 10? Because I think Sheffield United are going to come and sit in and try maybe play for a point or nick something. So we have to be able to break down that low block that I think they're going to set in. So Rafinha, if he can bring up a little bit of magic and get down the left-hand side, or if not, who's going to be that creative player in the middle of the park that's going to be able to pick a pass and make something happen?
Al, who do you think for the Blades?
I think David McGoldrick is probably, he's our top scorer, probably our most dangerous player. I will just say with Leeds United, Rafinha is good, isn't he? Yeah. I will also say Ender Stevens is probably injured. He got injured playing for the Republic of Ireland. So our left-hand side is about to become a great deal stronger if Ben Osborne plays there, because he is an absolute standout star for us. He is fantastic. Doesn't shirk a challenge, gives 100%. The fans love him. We don't know why he doesn't start every game. Keane Bryan may also operate and perhaps play in that Jack O'Connell role. We're decimated with injuries. I don't like being injury FC and using that as an excuse, so I will. It's been the main reason we are where we are. We have really missed our key defenders, and we will probably miss even more. I think we've got about 8 players likely out for this game. So we've got no idea. And you guys probably know better than me how Paul Heckingbottom would likely approach this match, because I haven't really had a chance to work out what kind of manager he is yet.
Very true, very true. Can I get a score prediction from you both then? Now we've spoken about the game, what we think could happen. Let's get an actual result. Ben, what do you think?
I think if we score early, I think we get 2 or 3 and it gets pretty comfortable. If they sit in, I think it becomes a bit of a slog. So I'll say a 1 or 2-0 win. I can't see them scoring. I think they scored 1 in 7, something like that. And I don't think they have massive pace on the break. Burke and Brewster are quick, but neither of them can finish. So I'm going to say 2-0. Stick my neck out, 2-0.
Hal, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Ben's absolutely right. We don't score many, but when we do, they tend to be tap-ins. I think 1-0 Blades. Chris Basham, he did miss the defeat at Stamford Bridge with an undisclosed injury, but I think he will arrive once again after, Billy Sharp sort of out-muscles Cooper. And, I don't know if either of these players are going to play. But, Basham, why not? 1-0. I've got to remain positive, and we played really well against Chelsea. So let's just see what can happen.
Always back your own team, Hal. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. It's been a good little chat here. With it being a Yorkshire derby, we're almost guaranteed a game that's going to be fantastic for people to watch, even if it is a cagey affair. So some of this will be more than 3 points, and there'll be a lot of bragging rights, as you mentioned, Hal, around Yorkshire this weekend, I'm sure. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. And let's look forward to the game this Saturday.